What's up, Rockstars? Today is a great day. We're going to have a fun video today. I'm going to be talking about my top 10, in order, top 10 games that surprised me. The games that either I went into not expecting much, that blew me away, or enlightened me on a certain thing, or did something really well, wasn't expecting, whatever it might be. We're going to be going over it right now. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members. It is through their financial support that this channel is possible. If you appreciate the videos I make every single week for you guys, and they are truly for you guys, then there is a link down in the description below. Thank you so much. Even $1 a month would be wonderful. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and just dive right in. I'm going to be talking about essentially what they were and then why. I would love to hear down in the comments below, and if you want, you can do that even before the video. Let me know what your top 10 is and why, or just something, even if it's just one game that really blew you away. I would love to hear about it, because as a critic, as somebody who looks at these board games and really tries to figure out why I like something, right? Which I think a lot of us can figure out, oh yeah, I like that game, but then what specifically, what does it do? What makes that tick, right? I'm always interested to hear what you guys think, what you guys are looking at, and all that can do is help me and see where we align. Maybe you can turn me on to something that looks really cool. With that out of the way, let's get started with number 10. Number 10 is Oko Chronicles. Oko Chronicles is such a diamond in the rough. It is such a under-the-radar treat that it pains me that more people have not played this game. It is fantastic. Now, I went into it just thinking it looked cool, right? Visually, it looks cool. It's a dungeon crawler set in Japan. I've been wanting that since I got in Forbidden Fortress, and so I was really excited for that. It's had some like interesting kind of card play and some dice, and so I was like, all right, well, let's dive in. And boy, howdy, was I blown away by this one. This one is actually like, starting out, this was very strong. The idea of having your cards and having to kind of decide which side to play them on, which thing to do. I want to use a skill, or do I want to use the increase? Is such a fun little system that I really enjoy, that how every single card plays a decision point because you have ulterior things. And I realized that, and I started looking for that in future games as well. So this really taught me early on that I like a card where I can't use everything on the card. So like, for instance, Anastyr has stuff that you can boost your roll on, or you can play it for that. And like, you have to decide, okay, which one do I want to use it for? That sort of thing. But Oko Chronicles does it exceptionally. Additionally, it has a different spin on the dungeon crawler that no other game that I have seen does, and it does it really well. First of all, it's a whole bunch of short campaigns, like 3 sessions, as opposed to some huge one. And it has this interesting thing where you're like, it's like a mystery, right? You're trying to figure out who the demon is, so you're going after NPCs, and they're doing things, and you're having to get clues and do your mission, and then eventually you get essentially a point system on who won based off of how much you did and what happened and what the other guy did. And I really enjoyed the who is it kind of aspect of it. It makes it feel completely different, because it's not just something where you have a set objective like, oh, I need to go like escort this person over, or I need to go do that. It has that with the added thing of you don't know who the demon is, and that was really exciting. So Oko Chronicles, fantastic minis, fantastic art, great production quality, fantastic game. More of you should play it. Number 9. Number 9 is Eternal Champions Judgment. I got stomped when I played this game. So I played it with one of the people actually making the game, and they had a lot more experience than I did, and it goes to prove that there is certainly a skill involved in that game. The thing that really stood out to me wasn't even the resin miniatures or how beautiful it is, or the table presence with the terrain and anything like. It wasn't any of that, and it wasn't even the kind of MOBA style of healing and getting items and leveling up and all that. That's all cool. That's all fantastic, and I do enjoy that. But it didn't surprise me. I kind of already knew that going in. What surprised me, what stood out for Eternal Champions, was the movement system and how important movement and location is in that game, unlike any other game. And one of the reasons you can do that is because you can actually move through your rolls. So you have your regular movement, but you can be skidding around and doing all these different things while you're rolling, and that's really cool to do. And it makes for a lot of interesting things where you can attack and pull back, and or try and kind of combo, and so attack and then move. And then I was amazed, because you go into it and you don't really realize that. You just kind of go a normal skirmish. I move, I attack, I move and attack. And you very quickly realize that there are optimal positions on that board for you, that you have actually quite a lot of control, but there's still kind of nuance in how you do it and if you can pull it off or not. But so suffice it to say, not just the combos of the players, but really, really impressed with the positioning of things, whether it's being near a shrine, whether it's actually just being near your gate, and or blocking line of sight or anything like that. Movement and position are everything in that game. Very impressed with it, and yeah, I got stomped because he knew it better than I did. That is for sure. Next up, number 8, Forest of Radgost. What a fun little game. What a little charming, just joyful game. I really enjoyed my time with it. And I was surprised because I went into it kind of just wanting to help an indie guy out. I have the privilege of being able to choose the videos I do. I don't have to follow what will get the most clicks or what's popular right now or what the algorithm wants or anything like that. I can just make what I desire to make to show you guys. And so if I see something like a neat little indie campaign, I can take the time to even put a video on it, even a review of it, which I did for Forest of Radgost. But honestly, that was me going into it. By the time I got to the review, I honestly wanted to tell you guys about this. I have played a few games in the past that are kind of more exploration kind of games, right? More kind of learning things and, experiencing the world. And this one, way better. I really enjoyed the mystic and intrigue of it. It reminded me a lot of Tainted Grail in that sense, where you're just kind of going through things like, what in God's name is happening here? What are you doing? How should I react to you? And then the whole concept of working together to kind of search and find the children and then getting them to safety and the events that can happen. Just really, really enjoyed it. It was so charming. And it showed me that I could actually enjoy something just for the experience. Before that, I have kind of been against experience games, and I was much more of a mechanically driven guy. And I'll talk about that a little bit later for another one. But there's something to be said about theme, about atmosphere, and about just the pleasantness of playing the game. And partially that comes from the simplicity of it, the fact that the mechanics aren't getting in the way of that experience and just kind of enhancing it a little bit. So very much enjoyed that. I loved the art style and the theme and learning about the different things. So did my children. It was a great family game, and honestly, I wasn't expecting much at all, and I came out actually really enjoying myself with that one. All right, so number 7, Zombicide. This is like something you probably don't, really understand why, so I'll explain this. Zombicide was the game that opened my eyes to proper board games. It's what got me in. It was my gateway game. If it had been something like, I don't know, Catan, which I've never even played before, I would not have gone into board games. You guys know my style, right? Like, that wouldn't have gotten me to dive in here. But when I saw Zombicide, when I went over to my coworker's house to play board games, and it was Zombicide on the table, and they had this abomination, they had this, like, dude with, two freaking machetes, and, like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then it played, and it was so fun. And it really, like, paved the way for what I've been about, and that's fun. I don't know if I've told you this, guys, or not in video, at least not publicly, but I was tempted for a long time. I would make a joke number, because I don't put numbers in my reviews, like just whatever out of whatever, right? As a silliness. Typically, the first number was bigger than the second number, just on purpose. And I did that early on. But even before that, I was really tempted to actually count and document how many yes is a game got. I don't know if you know that moment where you roll and you're like, yes, or you're excited, or like, bam, or you draw the card you liked and you're really excited about those excitable moments. Or whenever anybody stands up at the table because they're really into it. I wanted to almost document that and note in my reviews how many times that happened. Because I almost want to know that as a person that would maybe watching a review, like, was this game exciting? And that's a great avenue for that. It's a great way to know that. Now, I just got done speaking about Forza Radagast and how I've kind of matured in the things I like and the appreciation I can have for gaming. But by and large, I still crave that excitement. I still crave that will I get it, won't I get it? I need this number. I got that number. Oh, they can defend it. Okay, no, they didn't. You know, I love it. I really, really do. It's why I like hit rolls and then wound rolls in Warhammer, because you get two of those excitable moments. Bam, okay, I got all hits. I just got to do the wound. Bam, I got the wounds. And then I'm excited. So Zombicide just paved the way and surprised me to see how fun board games could be, and I've never played Monopoly since. So there's that. All right, number 6 is Solomon Kane, and this is the first and mostly only game I will still play solo. Let me explain that. So Solomon Kane was something that looked cool to me, was very interesting. I wasn't sure about the dice placement. I'd played Kingsburg, and so I knew that kind of portion of it, and I liked it well enough, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to play a game where I didn't even control Solomon Kane. So I had these like angel kind of beings here, and I'm just placing dice, and I don't know about that, and you get cards, but really you're just placing them down. It's not so I went into it very hesitant. Very hesitant. I liked the theme. I loved the minis. Mythic does great minis. But what I found was that, first of all, story can be accentuated through gameplay. I would never play Solomon Kane for the gameplay, if that makes sense. Not raw, not on its own. I would never play it as an abstract game, right? I mean, I wouldn't play an abstract game anyway, but you guys know what I mean. But when paired with the story and the theme, I really enjoyed it, and they did such a great job with that. Which means, if I'm just playing it for the story and the experience with mechanics that enhance that, and this is where I said I would talk about it from Forza Radagast, I can actually even enjoy it solo, because it is fairly easy to set up. You can follow the book, you can leave it on the table, it's not too bad. You're rolling the dice and you're placing it there. It has a fairly good solo mode as well, with the kind of the special angel that you get. Some things are a little bit harder, some things are a little bit easier, but either way, like I just really enjoyed it. I don't even care about the cards per se, and I don't even really care about placing the dice. I mean, that's fun, that's interesting, there's a little bit of manipulation there, but just the experience of the Solomon Kane stories and going through that and being able to kind of manipulate that in a way, or bad things happen, but then you can overcome that bad thing, or whatever. Or I didn't realize that was going to be that. Oh shoot, I should have been more cautious. It's just really well done story wise, really, really well done. And to the point where I feel like I would have done better in several of the games I've had even lately if I had been role-playing more in my head, like, oh, well, that makes sense. In this situation, I should have been doing this instead of just trying to get the objective or whatever it might be. Just very enjoyed it, and again, the fact that it kind of opened me up to solo gaming, and the fact that I do that now more often for my review, so I can really test it out for you guys, and I don't just hate every moment of it. Very, very stand up. Very surprised that ever happened. If you guys heard my earlier videos before that, I was pretty anti-solo. That's just not why I played board games, and by and large, it still isn't. But there are exceptions now, like Solomon Kane. All right, number 5 is Wolfenstein. Wow, what a surprise there. So I have played most of Archon's games, like just about all of them. And so having done that, I kind of expected a certain amount, right? And then on top of that, and by a certain amount, I meant not much, right? They have games that are very pretty. They had games that played okay, but they were never standout. They were never the ones you're going to pick over all the other games you have to actually put on the table and spend your time with, ever. They just weren't that case. Even Chronicle X wasn't quite there. And they were improving, but, whatever. And then they said, oh, hey, we're going to do this IP branded game. Ugh, an IP branded game. So we know this is going to be a cash in. They're not going to do a good job. It's going to be boring and dumb. And oh my gosh, it's even doing what other things are doing right now. Was kind of the popular thing to do a stealth action game. Blah, 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 blah. Wow, Wolfenstein was a ton of fun. In fact, I'm still upset that you guys have this and I don't yet. I need my copy. Send it to me, Archon. I paid for it. I want it. Because it did two things that I really liked. First of all, there were no real surprise enemies, right? By and large, you knew exactly what you were getting into. You even knew in the alarm what was coming in and where. There are some like patrol cards that could spawn enemies based off like some events, that's really bad when that happens. But it's not every time, and it's certainly not the major focus of it. So it's much more of a gamification of it, which I appreciate as somebody who just wants to look there and find the optimal move. I don't necessarily want to constantly react to just unknowns, because I feel like then I can't plan, if that makes sense. So I really enjoy that part anyway. Obviously, the theme and the story was really good, and I liked how quick it was to set up and how beautiful it is and all that. But what really stood out to me was the ammo system. So they have this resource of these different types of ammo for the guns, and those allow you to do special abilities, very, very strong abilities. And then you have your other like character abilities paired on top of that based off of how you're doing in the game and the actions that you're taking. And those two interplaying together just make you feel so freaking awesome that I really did enjoy it. I really enjoyed the ammo system. I liked being able to kind of collect those and see, I could do this right now, or I could wait and do that more. And it's so simple and it's so straightforward, and I don't have all these weird mechanics I have to upkeep. There's not a lot of bookkeeping or anything like that. I could just play the game and have fun. So the known enemies combined with the ammo system really blew me away to where I would play that over Zombicide pretty much any day of the week. Really, like just about any. I'm not going to say ever or never, because I'd get tired of it eventually. But for now, yes, I'd play Wolfenstein over that. And the fact that this came from Archon, the fact that surprised me, that this is like a legitimate game. It was one of the very first games I kept playing after my review of the prototype. I just kept freaking playing it because we were having fun. It was actually the only prototype I've taken up to the cabin that we go to every year to go play there, because my wife enjoyed it so much too. Blown away by Wolfenstein. As you guys play it, I've been hearing back from you guys. I'm sure you guys are quite surprised that is Archon's game, that they made a game that freaking fun. Very surprised, and I hope that continues for sure. Okay, number 4 is Primal: The Awakening. Now, disclaimer, I am getting paid to consult on their miniatures. We work through that and make it as great as possible for you, but I'm not involved in any other way besides that. But this is on the list because that map, guys, that circular map that everybody loves to make fun of because, oh my gosh, there's only 4 spaces, that's so stupid. There's the Monster Hunter world has a big map, and it's pointless. Because by and large, you're walking around the monster, and you're either going to go to its left or to its right, or try and sneak up behind. Like, it doesn't... I mean, Oathsworn, same thing. I mean, yeah, there's a few other things, but by and large, when you're fighting the boss, you're either hitting it in the front, or on the sides, or in the back. So simplify that and make it super smooth, where that's exactly what you're doing and you know exactly where you're at. Not only that, but with the terrain tokens they're placing and the scatter terrain and the different collectibles and the plateaus and stuff like that, you could really, like, placement mattered so much more in Primal than any other boss battler I've played. And I still have a few I'm going to mention here. Like, Primal takes the cake. By far the number one on where you are matters, my opinion. Like, I was blown away by that. But it was just simplified and just made it really easy. And it gives it kind of a feel like you have it cornered and it's thrashing around you and stuff like that, which I appreciate as well. Thematically, it makes sense to me. But it also had a really cool mechanic where you could jump onto the miniature. And that was kind of the first time I had seen that, and I really did enjoy that. And actually got to like experience it. And what you ended up being able to do is, while you're on that, you can like try and like prevent attacks. And so it might try to attack, and you're like trying to stab it, like, no, stop, don't bite my friend, kind of thing, and you can get bucked off, and it just a lot of fun. I really was impressed with something that small. With that small of a footprint. I mean, guys, boss battlers are normally freaking huge, so it's nice to have it packed into this and have it actually be more impactful, not less. Totally surprised by that, because I was right there, very skeptical of the map, and yep, no problem at all. Gladly will play it anytime. You guys just tell me when and give me a copy that nobody has yet, right? Like once we get the copy, I'm going to be playing that because I'm excited for it, for sure. Okay, we are getting into the big ones now. Number 3, Aeon Trespass Odyssey. This game, guys, I got an itchy nose, I'm sorry. This game, like, I just... So, I've played a few a few boss battlers now, especially prototype boss battlers, and I mean it just. Okay, so one of the things it does really well, obviously I loved the Metroidvania, but that didn't surprise me. I was kind of expecting that because that was a big, selling point, and I loved it. One of the things that it allowed me to see is a critique that I've had for narrative games. So take away the boss battle part for a second. Narrative games is that they're always this choose your own adventure, and that just makes it just waters down the story. It just melts it. It kills the pacing. It kills the actually ability to control the story so that the author, the person who is great at storytelling, can tell a great story. Instead, they have to like accommodate every little stupid thing you want to do as a player or whatever. So they got like 18 different things or whatever. So you can't just get besides the movie Clue, great movie by the way, like. Can you imagine if it was like, have you ever seen the deleted alternate endings or whatever? Can you imagine if, like, the person was like, I don't actually know how to end, this movie, so I guess let's just make 6 versions of it, and you can do anything under the sun, and, oh, hey, they all have had, oh, no, they all died. Like, I want storytellers to tell a great story, and I don't want to even really be involved in that. So that's kind of always been my nitpick, that the moment you make things open world, it breaks. I do the same with video games. The moment I get out from Oblivion, and I get out of the sewers, I'm off chasing goblins and goblin caves, and I've forgotten all about the king, and nobody cares, and it's just stupid drivel, and it kills it all, right? Aeon Trespass Odyssey did this really well. First of all, the world is just so engaging. But then you have this agency where, first of all, they can kind of control where your options are. Kind of like a Final Fantasy game in a way. Where, because of your technology, because of the Metroidvania. So they do guide you down a path. Now, the intricacies within that path you get to control. But, it's not like you're going to the ending first or something like that. But then they also have that nemesis system that's constantly chasing you. So you just have this real big sense of urgency, which I enjoyed. It also combined story and like boss mechanics very well, I felt. So, like, for instance, and this isn't really a spoiler because it was right there in the prelude, and they even talked about it in their updates and all that. So this is public information. And it's an example I had in my review. So if you've seen that, nothing spoiled here. But you start to, like, as you're going through, you just note a few things, like you see people with these weird tattoos, and then as it kind of progresses, you're like, no, this is like a maze on them, and it's like some skin condition. They're being shunned, like it seems to be bad things, don't get that. And then you can actually have that, like, happen to you when you're fighting the Labyrinth Bull, like that, he can actually do that. Not only that, but it's ingrained in him, so he's called the Labyrinth Bull, and he's actually dropping, like, these maze tiles onto the ground, and he will crush you with them, and then you're stuck inside of them. And so it created this very interesting thing where, you might have a plan, and you're doing the plan, and then, suddenly you're stuck in a freaking maze, and you have to escape out of the maze. It's such a drastically changing environment to fight a boss at, where suddenly parts of the map are just a maze, and, like, what you used to be able to go there, and now you can't, and it's just really well done. I'd never played a boss battler that changed that much terrain and to that significant of an amount, and then tie it perfectly and seamlessly throughout it. And not only that, but it gets dropped on you. Guess what? Now you have the freaking skin condition. Congratulations. What the heck that does? Who knows? Don't ask the snails. So that was great. But the Triskelion system was my favorite mechanic to date. I love it. So first of all, it reverses everything. So the weaker you are, the stronger you are. So it's a great catch-up mechanic. It's a great kind of a oh man, I can't think of the term now. Where you're like gambling with it, right? You're like trying to see how far can I go to be able to do it, right? So you're doing that, which is very, very fun, of course. But it was just a really good system to do that with, and completely changed the flavor, completely changed the feeling of the fight, where it wasn't just like we got him now, it's getting easy now, and it's the hardest at the beginning. Well, no, it can be hard, but also really easy at the end. It all just depends. But then they also allow you to do the hard co-op, which I adore. The hard co-op allowed you to like put different tokens down to help your teammates, and so your whole round became essentially one big turn, and so you were constantly engaged. There was never anybody not engaged. It was this blown away by how incredible it was and how innovative it was and how it took something like what KDM did and said, you know what, let's turn that up to 11. Let's just, and not like the theme, but like the actual mechanic. What can we do with a system like this? How far can we take it? How can we make a 2.0? And I feel like that's what their answer is to that. And it's just great. Fantastic. So very much blown away by that. Number two, this was almost number one, guys. This was so close to number one. I had it as number one. And then I switched it, and I switched it again, and I switched it again, and it's number two. Limbo Eternal War. Now, I know this is like Oko Chronicles, which I kind of started out with, and now I'm almost ending with one too, where you guys just haven't played these freaking games, and you know what? That's a bummer. Now, this one has a bit more indie-ness to it than Oko Chronicles, which is actually a very professional product and very well made. Their campaigns that the company does for Oko Chronicles aren't the best made, but the game is super quality. Limbo, fantastic minis, blown away by the minis, but we saw that in the renders, I had faith that they would make good minis because they said they were going to invest in it, and if you put money into it and put time into it, they're going to be great. That tends to be how it is, and so they were. That's fine, not surprised there. What I loved is twofold. I loved the fate system, the shared resource system of I want to do my special ability because it's super cool, but I can't just like use this resource. I have to give it to my opponent. Now they get that and they can use that against me. And then you almost say, well, what if I want to starve them of theirs? So they're going to use the special abilities. I'm not going to use any of mine. Haha, now I have all that, and I've made it to where you can't use yours against me. Maybe that's a great tactic. You can certainly try that. What surprised me, what just, I was not expecting this at all. I didn't connect the dots. I wasn't thinking about this part of the game and how this interacted and just how well and how much fun I would have. But it is the single best army building skirmish board game I have played. It beats Mythic Battles Pantheon, beats all of that, because it has this great point card system. We have a certain amount of points, and first you pick your deity, and they come in various flavors, and you can pick which one, and they have different abilities and different costs. And then you pick your heroes, or your boss unit, right? Again, you get to pick between that and have different things. And then you get to pick and they all cost points. Then you get to pick your heroes, and then your troops, and you can pay to have a whole bunch of troops, or maybe you're more hero focused, though you are limited by to a certain ratio, not to just completely make spamless, which is great. But you can still go heavy in one or another. Then you look at all of their intricacies with their abilities and their key traits and stuff like that, and well, not only do I want to pick this hero, but this hero has this type and this troop has this type, and they work together really well here, and they work together, and then this guy here can interact with that ability that they work together with and make sure that they're doing whatever, so you get all that. That's already great. But then you also get regular cards, and these cards can be buffs, like equipment essentially, that you can give them, or auras or magical abilities or whatever. So I can have this unit, but I can have this unit slotted with this, which is different than this unit slotted with this, or not slotted at all. You can make it to where you're putting more of your points in upgrades, so you have fewer units, but they're super upgraded. They're like alpha freaking, I'm going to tear crap up, the best version of them I can get. Or you can, have no equipment and just have a whole bunch of units. Or maybe a mix and a match or something like that. And then you have actual ability cards. And these are fantastically and interesting abilities that allow you to do various things, and you can play those during the game. So maybe you just have a whole bunch of spells that you're going to do with a whole bunch of cheap units. Or maybe you bought all the expensive units and then buffed them up and just have a few heavy hitting spells. And it's super expensive. That I could talk about this for ages. I love theory crafting, either thematic builds of armies or things that would be interesting, or what if I did this, what if I did that. The only thing that could make Limbo better, in my opinion, is more cards, which is why I'm looking forward to 1.5, because I'll get more cards and more units, and I'll be able to do more theory crafting. It's essentially like deck building and Magic the Gathering level stuff, and I love it. Or even it rivals Warhammer stuff. It's very good army building. Blown away by that, and I was not expecting any of that at all. I was expecting a normal skirmish game, and I just found myself loving this. I mean, it was fantastic. Great stuff there. Number one. What got the number one? I don't know if you've guessed it or not. I'd love to hear your guess, or hear if you were right or wrong, if you did guess. because it's obviously something I haven't mentioned. You can look behind me. Oh, what kind of games do I have? Maybe it's one of those. It is obviously one of those. The game that surprised me the most is Arena the Contest, number 1 for sure. For sure, because I've decided on it now. Like, again, Limbo was real close there. I was flip-floppy a little bit before, but now the camera's rolling, it's number 1. It's official now, number 1. Okay, where to start with this? I guess there's really 2 big aspects. One of them is the simplicity of the combat. So, and how engaging and nuanced and incredible it is. So, if you didn't know, Arena does PvP and a dungeon crawl, and I'll talk about the dungeon crawl portion, specifically the dungeon crawl portion. The combat's the same in both, in a bit. But for the combat that's in both, you have the special ability that you can only do once. And then you have this alternating thing where if you use it, you flip it over and then you can't use it on the next person. And then it flips back over like this. And you have a set order of things there. And so, of course, like in most skirmish games or party-based games, it's interesting to pair different groups together and all that. And I've kind of covered that in other games. And it was something that they advertised very well. And I kind of could comprehend, could grasp. But one of the reasons, early on when I was getting into board games, I bought Small World. And I really enjoyed Small World because I liked the idea that the most important decision in that game was when you kind of retired your race and got a new one, right? That was kind of the big thing on knowing when to do that. I could get more points, but now is the time to essentially waste it. Now is the time to do that. And if you were off on that, if you did too early or too late, it would cost you dearly, right? So I liked that idea. This is that, times your whole team. Where it's just like, is this the right moment to do that? If I do that, I won't be able to do this, right? But if I do it now, I can do this. And so that was really great. And I liked the fact that you're always doing a minimum damage and you're just trying to see how much more you do. So you don't ever feel like you wasted a turn. You always did something. I always enjoyed that. But like knowing when to flip that, knowing when to do that ultimate ability, very, very fun. Enjoyed that a lot. Then I played the narrative camp dungeon crawl. And two things about it. First of all, I loved how short it was. This is a campaign you can actually play through. You will actually see the end of this campaign. Now, I know that's crazy because you didn't have to read 300,000 words. You didn't have to play for 3 years straight every single Friday, forgoing all the other games because you have to play your narrative game because it has 72 different scenarios you got to run through or whatever, plus side quests and expansions and all that other crap. It's just like, here's a game, and it's fast-paced, and every single mission matters. There's not a lull in it. There's not a dull moment. You're not tired of it. You just play it, and you go through it. You're like, wow, I enjoyed every single moment with that story. So that's great. But the quality of the scenarios and the writings and how it fit into the game, I really, really enjoyed, because it had these moments where you read a bit of story. It was not just read intro, play with no story, read outro. That's how most narrative games work. It's very tried and true. Or they'll just do nothing but skill checks. It's just read, skill check, read, skill check, read, skill check, read, skill. It's bare bones. It's mindless. It's been done a million times, and I'm tired of it. Arena wasn't like that. Now, Tenaris looks like they're going to dial that up even more with NPCs you can interact with and whatever. There's a ton of stuff there. But even with Arena the Contest, like the fact that you had these different bits, right, combined with the fact that like it was tied to the mechanics. So it was like, oh, well, there's a patrol going around, and there's actually a patrol going around, and you have to interact with that patrol. And then you might go into a room, and you the moment you enter the room, the first thing it does is the door shut and enemies spawn up, and you have to interact with that. And I'm using very early examples, by the way, the examples that they actually did in their updates. Again, try not to spoil anything. So you have these different things where like you're interacting with the game almost like there's a game master, like you're playing a session of D&D. It's the closest I've ever gotten to that in a board game, bar none. Period. That is the closest I've had, and it's just really cool to see these different events and these different tricks and stuff like that. It's not like, oh, well, you draw from the chest and every now and then it's a poison dart. Oh, trap chest, mimic. It's not like that. It's like very purposefully handcrafted experiences. Like I said, like going in there and you don't know that you're just walking into a room like any other, and then suddenly the door's closing and they're on the other side, and they have to like come and try and break you out, and you have to kill these guys and try and break through the door, and all this stuff's happening. And I could go on to, I did in my review, so you guys could watch that, but I really did enjoy that. And then the only other part is the puzzles, the riddles. So there are riddles and puzzles in this game that can be very, very hard. But again, it's that RPG kind of feel things that dialed it up. It wasn't just the great combat. It wasn't just the story and all that, but it was just the raw feel of experiencing a role-playing game with fun combat. That's not full skill checks. So in other words, it's not D&D. So like that's great. It was awesome. And I very much enjoyed it. So that is my top 10. That is the top 10 games that either blew me away or surprised me in some way, shape, or form. I would love to hear what you've experienced. Maybe you're new to board gaming and everything's kind of an experience, like Zombicide was to me. Or maybe you're well seasoned. You've played like 300 million games and you're like, well, these are the standout. It's kind of hard when you make these lists. But one of the important things about making these lists, even if you don't share it, go ahead and make one, because it makes you think, like I talked about at the beginning, when you have to think critically about why I liked that or why I didn't like that, you become a better consumer because you can see those tails. I can see if a card is now used in two different ones, and I know to look for that because I know I like that. And so I can back smarter. So my money goes where it needs to go. So that's what I'll leave you with. Make the list, share it if you want to or not. Either way, I hope you had a great one. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon tomorrow with another video. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you like. Otherwise, just leave a like and have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys.